let's look forward to the weekend then. We're going to preview two games here because there are two very big games on the slate. And they include, Logan, my Buffalo Bills and your Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's start with the big one, Bills-Chiefs. This is just the fifth meeting, I think, since the merger, in which two teams with 8+ wins have met in week 11 or sooner. So sort of historic in terms of how successful these teams have been. What's the first key that really stands out to you with this game, Logan?
Well, I mean, as it always comes down to this matchup, I mean, the Mahomes versus Allen, that's going to be interesting, the QB battle. I'm really looking at the Buffalo receiving core, though, and just seeing how many guys are going to be available. Cooper's missed the last two games with a wrist injury. Kincaid has missed the last two practices with a knee injury. Keon Coleman is out, so that's a big difference to me. Like, if this receiving core is down this many guys, I think it might be just insurmountable. But there's a couple other key things that I'm looking at. The Kansas City receivers. You were talking about how limited the Kansas City offense has been. I mean, they're getting Juju Smith-Schuster back from a hamstring injury.
I didn't say limited. I just said in terms of talent, it's not as talented as the other offenses.
Yeah, they're still
real offenses we're talking about.
Getting Juju back, though, equalizes a little bit. I mean, he's a little more reliable than some of the guys they've had. DeAndre Hopkins is a difference maker. He's obviously not what he was at his apex. He just takes this offense up a notch. But it's really guys who are going to be available. Terrell Bernard was not healthy the last time these two teams met. He makes a real big difference to me. And also just like the weird, like Harrison Butker is going to be out. So now that they have Spencer Schrader from the Jets practice squad, that's interesting.
Jets kickers. That's who you want to be picking from. They've got it figured out.
Yeah. So basically it's just I'm looking at the guys who are going to be available. But the Buffalo receiving dynamic is the biggest one to me and why I'm going to take Kansas City to win this football game. I love Josh. He's as great as a one-man offensive engine. Also, I got some numbers for you guys who had some pushback on Josh.
Ooh.
Josh is number one not only in playoff touchdowns per game, he's number one in career touchdowns per game. He's also fourth in quarterback wins in a quarterback's first 7 seasons, just behind Wilson, Mahomes, and Joe Flacco. So for you guys who say that he doesn't produce elite offenses, there's a number for you. And for you guys who say that Josh doesn't win enough, the funniest argument I heard, Carson, was people saying that Jim Kelly was better.
Oh, good.
And my thing is, yeah, guys, that's why Jeff Hostetler is a better quarterback than Dan Marino. Great logic. But
I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, Jim Kelly, God bless him, horrible playoff underperformer.
Also,
and
hey guys,
people just still don't have a full grasp of the talent that Josh Allen is. That's
guys,
okay.
Josh Allen has never played with two players the caliber of Andre Reed or Thurman Thomas.
Correct.
It's ridiculous to me. Like,
correct.
Whatever. Time will tell. But the key dynamic to me in this game, unfortunately, is the health of the Buffalo receiving room.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going to take Kansas City to win this one.
Okay, I actually just have Josh's playoff numbers up here at a 16-game pace, okay? Let's just talk about these for a second.
Enlighten us.
Or 17-game pace, excuse me. Of course, that's the length of the NFL regular season. Now, his playoff pace over a full season, 46-29 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And on top of that, you have rushing 957 yards and 9 touchdowns. So overall, you're talking about 5,600 yards of offense and 45 touchdowns with very few turnovers. That's pretty good, dude. I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me.
Basically,
that's what he does.
Basically, what Lamar's been doing this year, people are talking about it being one of the great quarterback campaigns in NFL history. Josh has done that every game in his playoff career. Not every game, but an average playoff game for Josh is basically one of the greatest seasons ever.
Yeah, it's just funny to me when people talk about two things with Josh. And with any great quarterback who they use these arguments against. Number one, Super Bowls. I think that's so tired when we're talking about individual NFL players, bro. There's 22 starters, right? Like, Dan Marino doesn't have a Super Bowl. You cannot individually will your way there. There is an entire side of the ball you don't have control over. The Bills' offenses have put up like 29 points per game in the playoffs with Josh since 2020. I think that's how high. It's a super high number. I think it's the highest in the playoff field. Defenses have let him down. Number two is when people talk about the fact that he doesn't have an MVP, because I'm like, guys, you know that we made that up, right? You know that MVPs are invented and voters make mistakes. Josh is in his 5th straight MVP caliber season. Who cares if he literally has one? Drew Brees doesn't have one, right? Like, that is not an actual metric to use and say, oh, sorry, Josh doesn't have an MVP, so he's not as good as Brian Sipe, because Brian Sipe has an MVP.
Oh, dude,
he's not John Brody.
I'd take Rich Gannon over.
Give me Rich Gannon.
Oh, you know what, man? Actually, I'll take Mark Mosley over Josh Allen.
You should.
Actually.
And you should. He's a more impactful football player. Enough about Josh, but I do think that he is really the key to this game for the Bills, because you mentioned Coleman is out. Kincaid is officially out. And Amari Cooper has missed the last 2 weeks. He's questionable. So with all those dudes healthy, I actually would have picked the Bills. And part of that is just kind of a gut feeling. But the Bills have won their last 3 regular season meetings against the Chiefs. And they play the Chiefs better than anybody else in football. And this Chiefs team, as great as they've been, I do think they're kind of due for a loss in a close game. But they don't have those dudes healthy. At best case scenario, Amari Cooper is out there, and I'm honestly not optimistic about that because his injury's been kind of weird, and the Bills are going into the bye, which makes me think they'll be more conservative with all of these guys to buy them that extra week to recover. So that's a big concern because that's a tall task to overcome. That means the Bills have to be able to run the ball against arguably the best run defense in football. This is the best rushing attack the Bills have had, but that's still something that they really need to do successfully when the Chiefs are going to know that that's going to be an objective for them. And Josh is going to have to pull out some absolute magic. We've talked all year about how this is the most controlled Josh. This is the most mistake-averse Josh that we've seen. Taking what the defense gives you, that's not going to be enough in this game. Early downs, you want to try to work the run game. You want to try to get some screens to Shakir and Curtis Samuel. That's all fine and good by me. But without 3 of the 4 best receiving targets potentially in this offense, like, if the Bills are going to get explosive plays, it is going to be a broken play where Josh runs around for 6, 7, 8 seconds and then launches the ball 45 yards downfield. The guys just aren't going to separate at a high enough level, and the Chiefs are going to spy him. So I don't know if we'll see a ton of Josh running for yardage, but he's going to have to do some scrambling to throw at the least. And at the end of the day, that spy starts coming down, starts with a late pass rush. Like, he's just going to have to make dudes miss, and he's going to have to go through dudes. I think that versus this defense with these limited weapons, the Bills need a great Josh game. They need an above and beyond Josh game. If Amari plays, it's easier, but I'm not super optimistic about Amari playing. And on the opposite side, I think that the Bills really need to try to keep Kansas City's run game in check, because that's Buffalo's weakness defensively, the run defense. The Chiefs are just 30th in rushing yards per attempt, but they're 7th in rushing attempts. They really do try to run the ball, and I guarantee you they are going to against the Bills. And if the Bills can stop the run with some success, get them to 3rd and long, Kansas City's been unbelievable on 3rd down. They've been the best offense in football clearly on 3rd down, but the Bills' corners are amazing. And I think that they can hold up in coverage in those spots as well as anybody could at the very least. And really the big matchup in the passing game is going to be Travis Kelce to me. That's kind of the matchup of the game because you don't have Matt Milano out there to help in coverage on Kelce. It's going to be largely on Taron Johnson's shoulders. And in the 7 meetings between the Bills and the Chiefs since 2020, including the playoffs, Kelce averages 86 yards per game, and he has 8 total touchdowns. So he is the guy to watch. He is the guy to watch on 3rd down, and he's had a lot of success in this matchup, and the Bills are down a valuable piece in how they cover him. So, like I said, with the weapons healthy, I would have gone Buffalo. Without them, I think it's an uphill battle. I'm going to go Kansas City 27-24. Same score?
I'm taking a 27-23.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that feels about right. I think both these teams are going to put up points. I don't think either one of them is going to explode. It's just tough. Bills are shorthanded. I think it's possible, but that would be like a signature moment for Josh this season. I think he'd definitely have to play one of his best games and maybe his most show-stopping just in terms of doing crazy stuff. Let's talk Steelers-Ravens, Logan. What keys stand out to you here?
The biggest key to me is, can the Ravens slow down the Steelers' passing attack? And it's kind of funny just saying that out loud, considering
Yeah.
how limited the Steelers' passing attack has been. But I referenced these numbers the past couple of weeks. The difference between Fields and Russell Wilson. The Steelers are gaining nearly 100 more yards per game overall with Wilson, and they're averaging 9 more points per game with Russell Wilson. They've averaged 30 points per game with Russell Wilson at the helm. And this is a team that now has Mike Williams. So when you couple the fact that they've been super explosive with Russ, finding George Pickens on deep shots, finding Pat Freiermuth, finding Calvin Austin on some shot plays, and now that we've added basically just a jump ball guy, because that's what I think Mike Williams is, right? He's not a great technical receiver. He doesn't have great hands. He's not a great route runner. You tell Mike, run in a straight line, forward, just burn the other corner. That's what he does. When you add in the fact that the Ravens are the number 32 ranked passing defense overall, they've allowed the most total yards and total TDs to opposing teams, that could be problematic. So that's the biggest key to me. And the Steelers always play the Ravens really well. They are 7-3. The Steelers are over their last 10 matchups. They have won 3 straight against Baltimore, and they have won 7 of their last 8 matchups against Baltimore. We've had the Ravens number, and Lamar Jackson has not defeated the Steelers in 5 years. He is 2-4 versus
crazy.
the Steelers in his career. He has not beaten them since 2019. On the other side of the football, obviously, the biggest variable change is Derrick Henry. How does Derrick Henry change the geometry of the Steelers defending Lamar? That's the biggest thing, but I think the Steelers have a really good personnel group. They always play Derrick Henry really well. They always play Lamar really well. If they can slow that down and turn Lamar into a passer, get pressure home, that's going to be the difference. Even though the Steelers have been explosive and the Ravens have been susceptible to explosive plays, I think this is going to be a nasty, grimy Steelers-Ravens football game. They always are. I'm expecting turnovers. I'm expecting kind of a defensive football game. I'm going to take the Steelers to win this one 20-17. I think it's going to be nasty.
Wow. I don't expect the Steelers to hold the Ravens offense in check like that. Frankly, I don't know if anybody really can hold them in check like that.
I mean, if there's going to be a team, it's going to be Pittsburgh.
Could be. They're averaging 32 points per game this year. My goodness. They're averaging the most yards per play in NFL history by any offense. Ridiculous what they're doing. So I do lean on the Baltimore offense just being so damn good. And for the Steelers, I think that there's a path to them winning this game, definitely. I think that there's kind of 2 key components that I look at, one on each side of the ball. Offensively, can they get some shot plays off against this secondary? You mentioned the vertical threat that Pickens is. Calvin Austin has some potential there. Russ just adds that dimension to this offense, and this is a very vulnerable Baltimore secondary. That, to me, is how Pittsburgh can put up points in bunches, which I do kind of think they'll need to do. And then second key for Pittsburgh is just, can you get a couple of superhuman moments from TJ Watt, right? Can you get a strip sack on Lamar? Can you force maybe a couple turnovers or get a couple really big sacks on third down, right? Get them off the field. I think you need those sort of swing plays from the defense, and I'm looking specifically at him because that's what he does. And that, to me, is the path for Pittsburgh. I ultimately think they're just at a talent disadvantage. They're at an explosiveness disadvantage. Logan hates it. And what? I can't ever pick against the Steelers?
No, you can. I think Lamar has multiple turnovers in this game.
That's the path.
I think he gives us a pick. I think he loaf breads the football, drops one time. I think we get the Ravens off their game script, and the Steelers offense just does enough. I don't know. Steelers always play Lamar really well.
I know, but Lamar is better than he's ever been, dude.
He is. I just knew you were going to take the Ravens. I'm not surprised. I don't blame you. The Ravens are a really good football team, but I think the Steelers play Lamar really well, and we've got a really good game plan. Derrick Henry changes the math on this a little bit,
and also, you're talking about making Lamar a passer. I mean, Lamar is an elite passer, right? That's the difference between him and the version that you saw a few years ago.
And this is an elite defense, man. I think this is going to be a battle.
But it's the greatest offense in terms of yards per play in NFL history. Like, the Ravens are crazy offensively, and Lamar has been, by every statistical metric, the best passer in football this year. I'm not saying that's what he is, but that's what the numbers are. He leads in passing touchdowns, touchdown percentage, yards per attempt, passer rating, QBR. I think it's tough to overcome. I'm going to take the Ravens 30-21. I think that they still do their thing offensively.
Damn.
But I think the Steelers kind of do their thing offensively too. I think
You think they're
going to
beat our ass?
Chunk plays. No, I don't. I don't think they're going to beat
That's
your
an
ass.
ass kicking. That's
No,
an ass
not in
kicking.
the game flow that I foresee. The game flow that I foresee is it's 23-21.
They get a late
7
tutter.
minutes to go in the fourth. Then they get a tutty. You guys can't respond. 30-21. It's not an ass beating, but it's a convincing win.
I would be
Baltimore's
shocked
really good.
if we lose by more than one score. Actually, I mean any Steelers-Ravens game that is decided by more than one score, I'm kind of surprised. But
yeah, this Baltimore offense though is the best.
I think
that rivalry has seen ever.
True. I think this is classic Steelers-Ravens.
Okay. All right, we'll see. It's not 2008 anymore, though, Logan. We must be aware of this. Oh, the times
No,
they
what
were
you don't
changing.
understand, Carson, is that the NFL product sucks. We need to get rid of the two high safeties. Every game has
We got to
been
get rid of the two high shells.
painfully low scoring. Nobody
Everybody
scores
sucks.
any touchdowns anymore.
Quarterbacks don't know how to play anymore. What happened to Tom Brady? What happened to Drew Brees? What happened to Peyton Manning?
Dude, it's going to be like 3-2, man. The Steelers are going to win this one 3-2.
Well, offenses are dead, Logan. Offenses are dead, and there's no passing game anymore. And the refs, don't get me started on the refs with the flags. They've always got the flags they're throwing out on the field, and it's all rigged. Did I mention that? It's all rigged.
True.
Sad. Why do we even talk about these sports? Why do we even do a podcast? It's all rigged, and it's all way worse than it was 15 years ago when I was younger and everything was the best that it's ever been. I'm disgusted.